Hi everyone, welcome to Daily Revelations, weekly Bible study where we dive into God's Word one book at a time. And we are in the book of Genesis, and we focus on one chapter a week. So this week we are in Genesis 2, which happens to be a retelling of, well, the start of day 7 of the creation story, but also a retelling of days 1 through 6, some of it, in more detail. And so what we do every day of the week is we use a different precept method to read through this same chapter and ask God to just reveal to us what He has for us personally. And I just really, really want to encourage you to do this, because what God speaks to other people may be something He's speaking to you, but we miss out on so much, and we follow rabbit trails in this world and waste time when God just says, sit down with me, spend time with me, and I will tell you exactly what you need to do, how you need to go. And that is kind of what He did to me this morning. So the precept method that we use today is the who, what, when, where, why, and how of our chapter. If you're watching the video, you can see on my screen, this is what I wrote, and it wasn't a whole lot today. The why really got to me, because what happened is with all the craziness that's going on with social media and things like that, I've really been praying, God, what do we do to provide for a community that I support? Do we create another social media outlet? And I've been looking at different things and spending time, and just I felt this cloud of oppression over me while doing this, and I could not shake it. I thought, you know what, I just have to investigate, and if God's going to show me something, He's going to show me something, but I need to listen too. And this is where it's so important, and it's so vital that this is something that you do in your relationship with God, because what He's speaking to me, He may not be speaking to you. And what He showed me was verse 18 says this: the Lord said, it's not good for man to be alone. And having a support community is what we all need. But the problem is, what we have traded for support by using social media is not what God intended for us to have with relationships with other people. He wanted us to be to the point, at the end of this chapter, it says that Adam and Eve were naked and they were not ashamed. When we are in relationships with other people, we lay bare our hearts. And I have close friends who I see, and when we get one-on-one, I've had 3 such discussions this last week with friends who have been over. We get down to the nitty-gritty. We talk about what's important. We don't just flash something, a picture, a video, and then move on to the next thing and get so ingrained in what's going on with so many people's lives that we don't focus on what's most important. And we hear people all the time saying, we don't have relationships even with our kids or our spouses in our homes because we're so busy looking at our phones. We need to put them down. That is what God has really, really ingrained in me this morning through my study. He created a suitable helper, one person. One person for Adam. The animals didn't provide that. I love having animals. I have 3 cats and a dog. They are nice companions, but they don't provide the community that my friends and family do. And here was this suitable helper who, one other person, that was the beginning of creating a family and then led to an entire community. That is what we need to do. We need to just shut down from all our false relationships and find one person to start connecting with, and then build it from there. That is how God intended us to relate to one another. Yes, we have technology. Technology is wonderful, but when we let it control how we interact with one another on a personal basis. We have let it come between us and the purpose that God created us to connect with one another. I wrote down, all you need is one connection to start building community. We've traded the deep, meaningful relationships for quick, easy spotlights, uninvested friends, and in doing so, we've sacrificed time with our families, with our neighbors, with our relationship with God, and in the communities that we live in. And hatred comes from misunderstanding. And don't we see a lot of that right now? This is where it's taken us. We hate because we don't understand. We hate because we don't have deep embedded relationships with anyone anymore. And then judgment comes because it's easy to judge somebody you don't know. It's easy to judge somebody whose story you don't know all of. And unfortunately, COVID has made this worse. We need to get beyond that fear that, I went through cancer last year. And I still, when God told me I needed to travel, I traveled because I trusted in Him to protect me. And I know that's a hard thing to grasp for a lot of people, but we cannot continue to sacrifice our relationships because of fear of catching a virus, spreading a virus. God will protect us, and we just need to continually pray and ask God's leading in that. And that may be stepping on some of your feet, and I'm sorry. But of all people to be telling you this, I was in the hospital 3 times last year, and a positive COVID test would have not allowed me to have the surgeries I needed. Yet, I continued to trust in God, and He did provide. So, just want to encourage you. God is the Lord of our lives, and He controls everything. If we continue to live in fear and continue to isolate ourselves, we will continue to stay lonely and not have the deep and meaningful relationships we need. So just be encouraged. Dig into God's Word. See what He has to say to you specifically. Maybe you're dealing with something that is this cloud of oppression. What is God speaking into that? How does He want to provide you a way out of that? And He will. Because God is not about fear. He's not about oppression. He is about love. And He is about connection. And relationships are the core of where He created us from. So just be encouraged. I'll see you tomorrow as we continue this study through Genesis 2. Thanks for joining me on Daily Revelations.